Hey everyone, I got a special guest here today. We have John Hewitt. He isn't just a founder, he's a builder who has done what almost no one else has. Three companies, each scaled past 500 franchises. And what I love about his philosophy is he thought getting rich would mean sitting on a beach. But instead, he realized the real blessing is helping others. This convo is going to be about purpose, persistence, and systems behind building huge companies. John, thank you for coming on the #Clockedin podcast.
Jordan, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
The first question I have for you is you once thought getting rich meant sitting on a beach until you realized the real blessing was helping thousands of franchisees win. When did that shift happen for you?
Well, as I began to become successful, I realized that the journey is a long time and waiting for the treasure at the end. When you get to the treasure at the end of the rainbow, it took me 15 years in my first company to sell it for $483 million. We raised in August of 1982, we raised 129,000 and 15 years later sold it for $483 million.
Wow.
And it's anticlimactic. I mean, if you don't enjoy the 15 years, you're an idiot. So, right? So it's the journey is the joy.
So you started to fall in love with the journey and not so much about the destination. So this whole idea of build a company, sell it is somewhat of a fallacy.
It's shallow.
Absolutely. And where did you start to learn all these different skills about being self-employed? Where did all this come from? Because I mean, for your first company to do that is absolutely incredible.
You know, there's no school in this country of teaching someone to be CEO and to own their own company. And it's so I've been in the school of, I call it hard knocks. All right. I've been in the school of hard knocks for 43 years now.
Absolutely. And have you always been a lifelong learner, or did you ever think you were going to have a regular job and go that direction? Or that wasn't ever.
You know, I didn't have an idea. I sort of stumbled into the right place at the right time. When I was at the University of Buffalo, I was in school to be a mathematician, and I don't even know what a mathematician would do, but maybe be an instructor or professor or something. I had no clue. And then I took that H&R Block course, and I found dream job that dream career that just was has been fabulous.
Absolutely. And in our pre-call, you kind of told me about how you thought about seeing an opportunity. Can you share with the audience about how you saw that opportunity and how you kind of see opportunities today? Because I know a lot of people are sitting there going, I got to start a business right away. And that's maybe not the best approach.
I think you have to be thoughtful, and it became obvious during during my career. It became obvious because I helped H&R Block grow from 3,000 locations to 9,000 locations,
Wow.
and the, yet the second largest only had 200 locations. So it's pretty obvious to just about anyone with half a brain that there's always room for a second or third competitor. And so that opportunity was just, it was vacancy, vacancy, vacancy was flashing.
Yeah. It was obvious that you could fit in that role. And for you, we've talked about this a little bit before, but like, does self-employment, is that something for everyone? Is that something that everyone should aspire to? Because in the day and age today, I feel like everyone, the younger people are like, be an entrepreneur, be your own boss. Well, what do you think about all that?
The statistics are two-thirds of Americans want to be self-employed. I've helped almost 6,000 people become franchisees. And while a lot of a lot of people want to be self-employed, not everyone has the wherewithal. You have to have a unusual risk tolerance. You have to be a self-starter. You have to be your own boss. You have to have get up and go. And not everyone has that. Lots of people need security and they crave security. So it's not for everyone. But I've had some failures, but most of the people failed because they weren't meant to be self-employed.
Okay. And you mentioned about a few things, risk tolerance, self-starter. How does somebody know their risk tolerance or know if they're a self-starter?
Well, self-starter is a lot easier to know than risk tolerance, I think, right? But
Absolutely.
I think most people understand their risk tolerance and they stay away from it if it's not meant for them.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on how people know that. I certainly, before I let someone join me that's never been self-employed, I certainly try to probe to see if they have that and they have that ability. And one of the things I look for, Jordan, is have they been self-employed before? Even as a child, did they have a paper route? Did they have mow lawns? Did they sell Christmas cards? Did they do something that was that was on their own ever? And
Yeah.
if they didn't, did their parents?
Yeah.
So if it doesn't run in the family and they've never done anything, even a side hustle, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can be an Uber driver and be self-employed, right? If you've never had a side hustle, or then it's very questionable whether you should be contemplating it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I mean, everyone's got to fit in their role, right? There wouldn't be entrepreneurs and there wouldn't be thousands and thousands and millions of employees if everyone had the same risk tolerance. So for you, how'd you start to know about your risk tolerance?
Well, back to what you just said about you're right about the fact that um, it's a good thing for me that everyone's not meant to be self-employed because it would be so hard for me if I didn't have people to do the work. I
Yeah.
need I need people that want to be workers. I
Yeah.
can't, I can't have all self-employed people. So I I was fortunate that my dad kind of dragged me into being self-employed.
Yeah.
He was the visionary that saw that H&R Block wasn't computerized. The world wasn't computerized. Most
Yeah.
most of your viewers aren't old enough to remember a world without computers. But my
Yeah.
dad was a visionary, and the world was not computerized back in the 1970s. And so he saw that niche, and he dragged me from my job where I was happy into a whole new, even better world.
That's incredible. And what allowed you to go for it? Was it just your dad's commitment? Was it just the belief in that? What was it for you?
Yeah, and no, I was so happy at H&R Block. I had, I was running, I was not yet 30, running 250 offices, incredibly
Wow.
successful, and on my way up to top management. I mean, I was there was about 550 people at that level in the country on my way up, and one of the best in the country already. And I was so happy. There's only one way I would have left, and it was my dad.
Wow. Our parents do have a large impact on us.
Hopefully,
Hopefully it's positive.
right?
It can be either or. It can be either
It
or.
it, it certainly can.
And what allowed you to keep pushing? Because there a lot of people would have been very content with just three offices, let alone 10 offices, let alone 1,000, let alone what you've done. Like,
I I don't know when it started in my life, but I've always had as long as I can remember, my goal's been to be number one. So whether it was in school, whether it was in a race, racing my friends down the street, whether it was in a pickup baseball game or football game or basketball game, I've always wanted to win. I'm a poor loser. I'm a obsessive competitive person, and that's why the name of my book is I Compete.
so you're willing to go all out, leave everything on the field, do whatever it takes.
Yes, Michael Jordan um, is an incredible basketball player and best ever, and Dennis Rodman. is was no one liked Dennis Rodman. I don't know if you
Yeah.
are old enough to remember who he is, but he not only fought with his opponents, he fought with his own teammates sometimes on some of his teams. He was just
Yeah.
a nasty person. And I saw him being interviewed. I'm not a fan of Dennis Rodman at all, but I saw him. I was changing channels, and I saw him being interviewed, and they said, how did you get along with Michael Jordan? Right? And you didn't get along with anyone. He said, because when Michael and I were the same in one way. When we set foot on that court, we would rather die than lose. Or, right? We give 200%. So yes, it's a fanaticism about a commitment to win.
I love that. It's not talked about enough because a lot of the time people are getting handed trophies for little things they didn't even do. The kids nowadays.
I hated that when my son, I mean, my oldest son, 47 years old, when he was in, you know, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, we'd have to buy him a $25 trophy for seventh place. I mean, it was so disgusting.
Yeah, it's gotten much worse nowadays where everyone gets a trophy.
Right,
Um,
right. Yeah, I mean, whether you were sixth, seventh, eighth, no, I mean, yeah, I don't believe in that. I only believe in rewarding the winners.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you've also talked about the differentiator. There's very few people like you talked about how your business, Jackson Hewitt with your father, you ended up having the tech that allowed you to be successful there or a differentiator. And you're saying that a lot of people nowadays, you've seen it being on the decline with differentiating. Do you think that's still true? Or are people just not caring? Or what is it? Or companies? Or is it just profit? Or what do you think it is?
To be clear, what I mean is that I've in my whole life, I think the quality of service in America has declined. And
Really?
it's been so disappointing to watch.
And where do you see it most?
And
Just everything? Like, is it service providers in your business?
everything
Is it restaurants? Is it
well, yeah,
airplanes?
restaurants are a great example. Can you tell me the rule that why is there this rule that you go to a restaurant and you have a reservation for six people and five people come and they say we can't seat you until everyone's here. Now, what kind of service is that?
Yeah.
That's just pathetic. So yeah, I mean, I Jordan, can you tell me why that's a rule?
I mean, now that you bring it up, it actually makes zero sense.
Right.
And normally I would sit there and get annoyed at the sixth person that's not there. But in reality, you should be upset at the system that's not allowing you to be certain. Like, we'll pay for things now. Let's start paying things earlier.
And think about my life. I travel 120 days a year, and I'm in 60 or 70 cities, and
Wow.
I meet with people. And now, so if I have six people, there may be one couple or two couples and two singles, and they may be coming 3 hours away.
Yeah.
And so we all get there. We're not a team, right? These are prospective franchisees and existing franchisees, and stuff happens. You get caught in traffic,
Yeah.
and so why are we the rest of us being punished? I mean, it just so those kind of rules are just totally disappointing. And here's another example. Back in the when Walmart started.
Yeah.
I, I set a goal to be in Walmart within 3 years in 1993, and we
Oh,
made
wow.
it. We made it. But the
Oh,
first
incredible.
thing we did is we took the local. There was one Walmart in our city in the
Yeah.
Virginia area, and we took a Walmart manager out to lunch, and he wore like a cardigan sweater. I mean, he wasn't even dressed in a suit, but and my opinion, my impression was he wouldn't even had on a sweater, a nice sweater, unless he had planned to come to that lunch. And by the way, you can never buy them dinner or lunch, so
Oh, really?
I didn't get to pay. They have a rule that yeah, you get fired if you take accepted someone paying for your dinner or lunch.
Oh, wow.
So in any event, he told this story. He said, well, there was a guy that came into Walmart, and Walmart back then in 1993 had a money back guarantee. And Sam Walton had died a couple of years before that. And he said there's a guy came into a Walmart and he had this Franklin stove, this little stove that had been made 60 years before Walmart even started. And it was all dilapidated and, crushed and rusted out. And the guy that in the Walmart said, "Here, take another one and go ahead and take a replacement." And he said, again, it was sold or made even before Walmart was invented. And he said that was Mr. Sam. And he called him Mr. Sam. Well, then Sam had died, as I said, a couple of years before then. By the turn of the century, 7 years later, they were beginning to stop money back guarantees. So you could have
Really?
some things you didn't get any money back guarantee. Some things that would be
Yeah.
30 days, some things that would be a year. But now you can't get a money back guarantee in almost anything at Walmart. But
Yeah.
but this manager, think about the way he treated his customers, knowing that what he had
Mentor.
learned about what Mr. Sam had done, he was much better at exceeding customers' expectation. It's gotten worse and worse every year.
Because we're not seeing those leaders as much because everyone's in the system. So it's, oh, we can't break the rules. We need approval. Can we do this? So how at Loyalty Brands are you making it unique and having that exceeding expectations? Just for the audience to sit there, if they might have a company or they're part of a company and they might be like, oh, that'd be a cool thing to implement. Is there anything that you do that you think?
Yeah, I preach that there are two things, right? That one is principles and one is policies. And principles, I teach them that principles trump policies. So,
Okay.
for example, years ago, there was a situation where we only took calls in accounting department from franchisees between 2 and 4. And at 4:15, one of the lowest level account payable clerk gets a call at 4:15, and somehow the franchise got through the switchboard.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, it's past 4 o'clock. I can't talk to you," and hung up on the phone. And so our principle is happy, successful franchisees, and she violated the principle.
Yeah.
So she was scolded because principles first and then policies. Policies are meant to violate principles.
I like that. That's unique. And you don't usually hear that from the top because most of the time it's just follow the rules, follow the rules, follow the rules. And it's not like you're basically saying, hey, if this is our main goal and we can break these rules at any time to satisfy the main goal. And that's a differentiator.
Exactly. And you herald the employees that do that. You hold them up in acclaim for look at what happened. This situation happened.
Yeah, I completely agree with this because this is something I've been thinking about where it's that we can all be trained. Like we all don't think we can be trained, and that sounds wrong because we're like, oh, we train dogs and we train cats. No, people can be trained. You applaud the good behavior, and then you ridicule in private the poor behavior where you're like, hey, I don't really appreciate that. Can we adjust this? Is there a way to do this a little differently?
Exactly.
Because it allows them to build. It allows them to build what they're trying to do. So for you, what was, and I just want the audience to realize, you sold your first business when? And then when did you start your second business? Because I think this is really powerful for the audience to realize.
I sold in December of 97 and
Okay.
started the same day.
Most people would think you're crazy. Why'd you do that? Like, what was the thought process there?
I don't know what else I would do. Right. And first of all, there's nothing as much fun as improving people's lives. There's
Yes.
nothing. I mean, that's the biggest enjoyment on the planet is improving people's lives. And so have lived a life of fun. I invented the phrase, I think, thank God it's Monday, right? Everyone else, if you're living a life that thank God it's Friday, boy, I feel bad for you. With me, it's, 365 days. And I've been so blessed that in my life, I have 6 children, 11 grandchildren, and 5 great grandchildren. And all of my friends or relatives have either been franchisees, employees, stockholders, or a combination of the above. And so there's no day off. On Christmas, we're talking business, but we love it. We love it. We love changing people's lives. And so that's I wake up happy every day and go to sleep happy. In between, I'm aggravated a lot, but I there's not a day goes by that I am not incredibly grateful for the blessings I've been given.
I love that. And where do you think you started to realize that moment? Because there's definitely people on the call who are like, thank God it's Friday. Like we all know it. So how do you think someone could find that thank God it's Monday mentality? Like what do they need to look for? What questions do they need to ask? Or how can they think about it differently?
Well, to me, it starts with God and grateful, and
Yes.
being if you are if you believe in God and live a godly life, then that starts with being grateful. I preach to everyone that being alive and healthy in the United States of America, you're in the top 1% most fortunate people on the planet. And
Absolutely.
so every day you need to pinch yourself and start with that. I have 6 children and I love my children to death, but all of them are spoiled rich kids. They they will not understand how grateful they are.
Yes.
They just take it for granted. I don't know about you, but I grew up poor. When I was
Yeah.
when I was in 12, 13, 14 years old, I had 2 pair of jeans. I would wear one day, and my mother would wash my other pair and wear that other one the next day, and maybe 5 shirts or something. I mean, I was
Yeah.
not. I knew it, and I was cocky. I knew I was going to get wealthy, but I was poor, and so I appreciated so much and I've achieved so much, but I didn't do that because I went out and I'm this incredible human being that did it by myself, right? God gives different people different blessings, and
Yeah.
I've been incredibly blessed, and I've never ceased appreciating that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think gratitude is one of the biggest things in the world. And a lot of us struggle with it because we don't have that perspective. And we're just like, I have to do this. I have to do this. And I try to remind people, I think Ed Milet said it, is that we get to do things. We don't have to do anything in the United States. Like, there's a lot of things we get to do, which keep us motivated. And for that brings up the next topic. For you, what keeps your motivation going? Because 120 days traveling, and you could be retired, you could be doing anything like that's a good amount of travel. Like what deems if you go to something or don't, or how do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I'm committed to win.
Yeah.
And I brought in almost 6,000 franchisees myself, and
Wow.
and so not only did I bring them in, but I'm mentoring them and
Yeah.
guiding them and continually mentoring and guiding them. So and I've had help, and they had 100,000 employees.
Yes.
So today I'm in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I will meet with some people that I've helped over the years, and some potential new franchisees. And so the face to face is so much better than Zoom or online. That I'm
Yeah.
a face to face guy, and it's all about people. When you sign a deal and you sign a partnership or a franchise agreement, it's not about the paper you sign. It's about the people you deal with.
Yeah, it's about the trust. And I also want to note that I actually went to the Loyalty Brands conference this past year, and everybody said the same thing about John. They go, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he meets with everyone. I don't know how he's talking to everyone, but he knows everyone and he does because that's the type of guy John is because he wants to win. So if you ever have goals or aspirations for your business or your dreams or your family, like you got to go after it like a crazy person. You got to be committed and do more work than anyone believes that actually is logical to getting that success. Like you just got to keep pushing. Um, is that what keeps you going?
Uh, but first of all, let me add one part to that. That
Yeah.
well, one of the reasons I learned, and I didn't learn this until last 10 years, that it's what when I have this fanatical desire to win, it's it may be more because I hate losing than I want to win, right? Because I compete in so many ways. I will bet like $1 on a football game,
Yeah.
or I'll bet $1 on some historical fact. We'll be
Yeah.
arguing and or who sings this hear a song on the radio, a one-hit wonder from 1964, and we'll bet $1 on who the
Yeah.
artist is, right? But I learned that the pain of losing is 20 times worse than the joy of winning. So some of my competitiveness is I'm just such a bad loser, right? But yes, you have to be fanatical, and you have to be over the top. If you do, and you talked about differentiators before, if David had gone onto the field with the same sword and shield and armor as Goliath, there wouldn't be a David and Goliath story. He'd be the 189th guy killed by Goliath,
Yeah.
right? So you have to come up with your differentiator. And I think the the Green Bay coach, I forget his name off for a second, but one of the greatest coaches of all time. He said, Vince Lombardi. He said,
Yes.
he said, we go onto the field every game with a plan to win, knowing that we can't always win. Life wouldn't be fun if you always win, right? It
Yeah.
would be boring, right? So
Yeah.
the possibility of losing is actually a good thing because, again, it would just be the most boring life if you won 100% of the time. So he said, we go onto the field with a game plan to win. We don't, knowing that we're not going to, but we're either going to win or learn a lesson to help us win the next time or both.
I I love that because I gave two speeches yesterday and I was talking to people about basically action versus inaction and it's kind of this action versus perfectionism idea where people don't realize that it's better to do imperfect action because everyone wants to get the things correct or do it right the first time, and every single time it was always just take more action and you'll learn instead. But the school system has forced us to sit there and realize that our results we don't want to fail because we feel like a loser because that's what school taught us, and that's just completely wrong. And in life, we learn, and it's all about learning.
I'm so perfectionists are so annoying to me, right? Because you're never going to get it perfect
Yeah,
ever, right? And if if you if you wait and get it perfect, right,
yeah,
then it's you missed the boat, right? You got to get to a point that it's 97, 98%. Now there's some places you have to be perfect,
yeah,
but not typically in business, right?
yeah,
If you're doing a brain operation or a heart operation, or whatever, right? There are some places perfection is critical,
yeah,
but not in a budget, for example. I mean, I hate when I try to guide people to do budgets, and I tell them, I mean, they spend men tens and dozens of hours trying to get it exactly right. And I tell them, you take a great company like a Walmart or a Microsoft or an IBM, and they have hundreds of people in their budgeting department, and they'll miss their budget by 10 or 20%, right? You're never going to get it right. Don't waste too much time on it. You,
yeah.
it's the pursuit of perfectionism hurts the opportunity of creation.
I love that. Yeah, the pursuit of perfectionism hurts the opportunity of creation.
Exactly. You want
I
to be
love
creative, then you have to be exploratory.
Yeah, and you have to be willing to make mistakes, and that's okay. That's part of the journey. It's part of the journey. So,
They say that people that are most successful have made the most mistakes. So Jordan, at my age, I've made way more mistakes than you can ever imagine.
of
Right.
course, and because you put yourself out there too. There's a
Exactly.
completely difference from the person who doesn't even try. Like, because when you're trying, I spent money on this, I tried this, I tried this. I'll try anything. Like, let's see what works, and that's part of the journey. Um,
Thomas Edison
of
invented the light
course,
bulb,
yeah.
and he tried thousands of different combinations. And people would say to him, "Aren't you depressed that you made all these mistakes?" He said, "No, because I know one more thing that doesn't work. I'm that much closer to getting the right answer."
And that's the way we have to look at things. And even if you start getting no's or rejections or that, you're that much closer to the yes that you're looking for or desiring. So with Edwards Consulting, there's five pillars. There's mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. I'm going to ask you today how you're feeling on each one of them. And then you can kind of give the audience a little bit why, because it helps them understand you a little bit more. So, John, for you, what's your mental health like today on a 1 to 10?
I'm a 10
Whoa.
because I'm just so grateful, and I you cannot catch me having a bad day.
I love. Is
I,
there a
I
gratitude
mean,
practice?
when at Dunkin' Donuts, they call me Mr. Incredible because it just started about 16 months ago. During my life, I use different words to describe how I am that day, right? When you
Yeah,
asked me, when we started this call, you said, "How are you doing tonight?" I said, "As incredible as usual." And,
yeah.
and so I've used different words over the years: amazing, fantastic. But I changed about a year and a half ago to incredible. And
Yeah.
even the girls at Dunkin' Donuts say after a few months, they say, "I love that," because most people say good or okay or right. And so I feel guilty because they often give me free coffee now, and they call me Mr. Incredible. So I have this rule: I can't let people do more for me than I do for them. So last Christmas and again this Christmas, I sent them a Christmas tree of flowers
I
because
love
they
that.
give me all these free coffees. Sometimes to me, it's hard to accept those kind of things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll go to a Dunkin' Donuts that's a little further away because I don't want to take advantage of them. But yeah, I live a life of gratefulness and just incredible blessing.
I love that. I think more of us have to start asking ourselves, how can we show up grateful in the world? What can we
Exactly.
be grateful for? Because it is one of the most powerful things, and so many of us just take it for granted. Now, physical health on a 1 to 10, how are you feeling there?
Well, I just fell a couple of days ago, and
Okay.
other than that, I'm doing fantastic. I'm 76 years old, and my health has been so great that I feel like I'm almost never sick. I haven't vomited in the 21st century. I mean,
Wow.
I have never had a flu shot except for COVID, where for work I had to have a flu shot or I couldn't get into hotels and restaurants
Yeah, yeah.
and meetings. But I've never had a flu shot, never had the flu. And so I feel like I've got an extra year or two of life because I'm just generally so healthy. Except for
I,
right now I just had uh,
yeah.
but
But
which
you're
is
usually one, like, you're a very like natural person, you're saying.
yes,
Got you. Yeah, no, because I've realized that to be completely honest, I think some people when they get sick is sometimes a mindset thing. Like sometimes it's the weather and not feeling well and treating their body poorly, but sometimes it's a little bit of the mindset. And when you have this gratitude mindset of being so grateful all the time, I think that helps with the physical health.
sure, anxiety and depression and bad attitude will make you sick.
It really does. Someone said that 90% of people in hospitals are mentally have their like are meant it's not always physical. Sometimes it's in their head.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just a push through. What about community service philanthropy? How do you feel about that? And how do you kind of implement that into like what you do?
Yeah, in all of our companies, we have 8 companies today, and in each of our companies, and we just passed 500 franchisees,
Amazing.
and for the third time. And one of our principles in all of our companies is to give back. And what I felt compelled to do, and I don't tell anyone how to give back because there's
Yes.
so many great charities. There's
Yeah.
Heart Fund and cancer and diabetes, and my personal choice was World Hunger. And so
Okay.
the same when I as I began to get wealthy, I began to focus on World Hunger. So two two I have two focuses. One is church and the other is World Hunger.
I love that. And is there a specific group or a specific, is it like a
Well,
school or
yeah,
is it like a money or is it what is it exactly with the hunger?
to go into it in a little depth, um, I felt compelled to save lives. I
Yeah.
I hated back in the 80s, 90s, hearing that 35,000 people a day were dying of starvation. It
Oh
just,
my God.
that was so scary. And now it's down to 30,000. But uh, so I felt compelled to save lives. So I went out on a journey to find a hunger organization that just focused on saving lives. I couldn't find one. So
Really?
there was they every organization, they saved their lives, and then they either proselytized, told them about God and Jesus, or they taught them how to fish or farm or
Yeah, yeah,
and I well, those are important,
yeah.
right? Someone's got to do that. I didn't. Well, I'm teaching them how to farm or fish or take care of themselves. There's tens of thousands of people dying over there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I looked. I couldn't find an organization that focused on saving lives, and so I was helping. I started with the Hewitt Foundation, and I partnered with a company or an organization, great organization in the United States called Society of St. Andrew, and they just focus in the U.S. where people aren't dying; they're just malnourished. And so when they had a call from overseas that people were dying, they would put me in touch and I would help. And then one day I was having lunch with one of the two founders, Ray Buchanan, a Methodist minister, and he said, "Oh, woe is me." He said, "I just went to Africa. I saw all of these people dying." He said, "I got to change. I got to do something different." I said, "Well, what would you do if you could have your choice?" He said, I'd go over to hotspots, find people dying, come back, and within 2 weeks start sending food." And I said, "Ray, my dream's a little different. That I want you to have a phone with you and start the food the day you're there." And so in January of 1998, the day I started Liberty Tax Service, we started Stop Hunger Now. And today we have over 100 employees and have distributed over 500 million meals and saved millions of people's lives.
Wow. What
And the mission
that's
statement was the same name as the organization, Stop
yeah.
Hunger Now.
Wow. I love that. And you've been doing it for almost 30 years. Wow.
Started, well, the Hewitt Foundation was before that. So
Okay.
I've been doing it for over 30 years, but that organization started in on January. It'll be our 28th anniversary.
That's amazing. And what about relationships? How do you feel about relationships? This could be family, friends, however you want, business partners, however you want to think about
But I think something that sets me apart from, well, two things that set me apart in relationships, different than
it. Yeah.
than most people. One is that I want I want what's best for you. And having had thousands of franchisees, thousands of employees, and my goal is always that to do what's best for you. When it's best for me, when you can be my employee or my franchisee or my partner, that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, I want what's best for you. And
Yeah.
so that selflessness, I think, so I have that, but I also have this fanatical view that I have to do more for everyone else than they do for me. Like I told her about the Dunkin' Donuts situation. I have to, I can't let them give me coffee. I have to do something back. So last year I gave him a Christmas tree of flowers, and then in Valentine's Day I gave him candy.
I love that. And so does that hold true for like your kids or any like you just
Everyone in my life. If
no
if
one
I meet if I meet you at dinner, I mean I gotta buy dinner.
you want to outgive everyone. I love
Every,
that.
that's my goal.
I think that's incredible because I mean a lot of us just don't even real a lot of us don't think like that because a lot of us are take, 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 and we have scarcity and there's not that abundance of like, no, let's give. Let's overly give. Let's see how
There's
we can support.
there's no there's nothing as rewarding as giving,
Yeah.
and yet 2/3 of Americans are takers, not givers.
Really? Wow. I can see that. I mean, when you start to think about it, you start giving to people and you start seeing things and you're like, oh, why don't they return the favor? And it's like, I shouldn't have even, you can't give with an expectation in return anyway. You got to just give with what you have.
If you give with the expectation that they're going to be grateful, then you'll stop giving pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I've given so much to so many people, and so few people are, I feel, adequately appreciate what I've done for them.
re that makes me feel better because I mean, sometimes you give to people and you're like, really, nothing, not just not a care in
It's
the world.
it's a little bit blasphemy, but I feel this is a little bit blasphemy, but I kind of feel how God feels. I kind of
Yeah,
think I understand a little bit of how God feels. I
yeah,
mean, he first thing he did is Adam and Eve, and they went over and ate the fruit. Right? There's no people are just ungrateful.
yeah, yeah. So it's how do we flip the lights on for gratitude? And the last one's actually spirituality. So you bring that up. What about spirituality? How has that been present or not
I
present in your life?
I can't say it any more clearly. There is no happiness on this planet without a belief in God.
Really?
There
How did you start? When did that start for you? As a child or just always or
always I've always understood or been a grateful since as long as I can remember. But I didn't realize until right away, I didn't realize that there's no happy marriages, there's no happy anything, happiness, anything else is sinking sand, right? So there's no joy in this planet, true joy,
yeah.
without God. I didn't realize that maybe until I was in my 20s or 30s.
Okay. And you're saying that because it wouldn't be possible, like none of this would be possible kind of thing? Or
Everything else is shallow. And I mean, you get a new car, you get a new boat. I love. If you want to understand that, then Steve Jobs died prematurely at about 62,
yeah.
pancreatic cancer, and one of the richest guys on the planet, right? And he's there, and he said, at the end of the day, what difference to make how much money I have? And I mean, it's the way you lived your life that and what you've done with your life that matters, not any material possessions. And you hear it a lot that you go in and come out the same way, right? You're naked.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's so true. And it's a great reminder hearing it from you that the material things are not the important things. It's the moments, it's the travel, it's the supporting others, it's the giving, it's the changing lives that really does matter. That starts to change our own life after a while. Like, you know what I mean? You do enough of it, you start to change your own life.
It's there again, Jordan. There's nothing as rewarding as improving someone else's life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. And then one more question is how do you manage it all? How do you think about that? Because I know you have a good amount of stuff on your plate. How do you think about that? Um, between the foundations, the companies, the family, the travel. It's how do you think about management of time? Because
Yeah, that's a challenge in this sense that, Peter Drucker, one of the greatest business authors, said um, that people with great strengths have great weaknesses. And since I have great strengths, some great strengths, that means I have great weaknesses. And he tells some stories in the book, The Effective Executive. But um, one of my greatest weaknesses is a lack of detail. So I have to surround myself with detail people. So I if when you made this appointment with me, you didn't make it with me, you made it with my person, right?
yeah,
I can't do anything because I'm just so little detail. I have I the closest people in my company are the most detailed because it just escapes me.
yeah. No, absolutely. That makes so much sense. But the more we know our strengths, the more we know our weaknesses, and then we can cover for our weaknesses. And I actually know there was actually two people who accepted the meeting outside of you.
Awesome.
So there's more people. Like, but my point
Yeah.
is that you have to have the right people around you. Otherwise, you'll never know what you're doing. And you'll never, I mean, yeah, without the team, without it properly in place, everything falls. So how do you start to know your strengths and your weaknesses? What if there's someone listening right now and they're like, I don't really know what I'm good at. I don't know what I'm bad at. Like, how do you start to become aware of that?
Well, most of it's pretty obvious, right?
I would think so.
And someone asked me a month ago or 2 months ago, they were beginning to build their company, and there was just them. And who's the first person I hire? Well, I say, what are you good at? And if you're good at marketing and bad at accounting, you hire someone to do accounting. If you're good at accounting and bad at marketing, I said you hire people that offset your strengths. And
Yes.
what you need in companies is pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
Organizational. If you look at the Fortune 500 companies, the
Yeah.
slots, the CFO, the CMO, the CTO, there's all these slots. And so you know you can't do everything. And you have to and what you generally are good at is what you like. Is it chicken or egg, right? And
Yes.
right. So if I'm good at technology, I like it. And so
Yeah.
it's good that I hire someone to do accounting and marketing and other things. So I think it's it should be pretty obvious to most people what their weaknesses are. But
Yeah.
some people are narcissistic and they think they have no weaknesses, which is crazy.
Absolutely.
If you don't know what your weaknesses are, then you're an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, you're explaining a lot of good things, and when I think about it, I think about usually wearing a hat. So, like, you put on a CFO hat, you put on the CEO hat, you put it on the COO. And you don't realize that by the end of the day, you've worn 27 hats, and which hat do you not want to wear ever again? That's helped me think about it sometimes as well. So I appreciate that, John. Yeah, you got something else to say?
You're exactly right. It should be obvious to you at the end, pretty quickly. What
Absolutely.
and it's nice because you like what you're good at. So
Yes.
you said it the right way. It's something you don't like to do, then you're not good at it.
Absolutely. John, you're incredible. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there any where can people find you or learn more about loyalty brands and yourself?
It's loyaltybrands.com. And I have a book out there that tells the journey.
Yes.
And the book is free if to your listeners if they go on. They can go onto the website and get a free book.
Okay, amazing. I will make sure to put that all in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on, John. I appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.